Hi, my name is Ryan, and I'm with Sara. We're going to do a podcast about a podcast today.
That's so meta.
It is. It's like Inception. And I'm from the Ozarks, so it's like a cousin within a cousin, except that's just a movie.
Oh, God.
So,
oh, God.
Right. Right.
Starting off strong.
Or we, whatever.
Why am I here?
Well, if anything, we'll reconsider things when we're done with the podcast. But today on Business Uncensored, we're going to be talking about podcasting. Me and Sara, we're two lucky people that we get to do this for a living. As whether it's backup part of the industry within the industry. And we met recently at PodFest down in Orlando, Florida. She was gracious enough to come on the show. I'm kind of picky about who I have on here, so I was so happy she said yes.
I'm honored.
Yes, I'm honored to have you here. So today we are going to talk about the industry of podcasting. Isaac, if you're editing this, make the screen shake and be like, podcasting. So I got into podcasting because it was just a logical step. I was a comedian and I decided not to do stand-up anymore because I didn't really care for it. And went into podcasting, had a couple pop off, got into that industry, went into marketing, blah, blah, blah. 10 years later, I'm back into podcasting, doing it for a living, have a podcast production company. It encapsulates my life. So your turn. How did you get into the podcasting area?
Oh, God, I did it on accident. I was working in marketing. I switched over to finance just as I don't even know why. I never wanted to work in finance, and I got a really good opportunity, ended up as a director of marketing, and they had a podcast. So I took over as producer, but after a couple years in finance, I'm just like, I don't belong here. I am not a financial professional, and I had to leave. So I had fallen in love with podcasting and everything that I got out of that piece of that job. So I just kind of went all in and launched Favorite Daughter Media. So I do similar things as you. I produce podcasts, I guest on, host on, and do everything involved with podcasting.
At first, when I started calling myself a podcast producer, right? Because I think that's my official title. I'm not sure. But anyway, it kind of felt like, so in your mind, what does a podcast producer do? Because that just sounds like a really fucking made up title.
Oh, it is. And it also it depends on who's saying it. Because when I was executive producer of a podcast for 5 years, but I didn't actually do any production. We had editors and everything. So I just did management. And so I guess technically I was a podcast manager, because now when I say podcast producer, I actually do some of the production. So I feel like if you're a producer, you're supposed to do producing, but also then what is the difference between producing and editing? And you're making my head hurt. It's too early for this. It's such a difficult question because I really don't even know.
Because we were at PodFest and I had to come up with off the cuff title of what I am, because I'm director of programming, I'm director of creativity, I help editing, I run production, I'm host acquisition, I'm whatever. So basically I'm a podcast producer. That's what I do. But by the end of it, I'm like, am I really? I push a button on StreamYard and make sure the people don't eat dick while they're on there, and make sure their sound looks good and make sure they're whatever.
Their
and
sound
then I
looks
kick off
good.
Yeah. That's, it's too early in the morning, like you said.
Yep.
Not for some of us to drink. But I kick, but make sure they look good and they sound good. And I kick that video off to editors. So what do I really do? Am I really a podcast producer?
See, I gave myself just the title of the favorite daughter, and that is whatever anyone wants to think it is. And
please tell me you're an only child.
I'm not.
Okay.
And yes, it's a sister.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I named my company Favorite Daughter Media, fully knowing I had a sister. It's fine.
Oh, nice. How does your family feel about that?
My parents think it's kind of hilarious. When I told my parents that I was trying to come up with a name for my company when I was thinking about launching, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I finally called my mom and I was like, by the way, I named my company. And when I told her, I think she laughed for 5 minutes straight. And then I told my sister and she didn't.
Of course.
No,
older or younger sister?
She's older.
Oh, yeah. because that's a shrink bill right there, because I'm the youngest too, right?
Mm-hmm. So you're the
we're
favorite.
all the favorites. Yeah,
exactly.
Of course. And they hate me. So imagine how much they hate my brother.
Oh, yeah. No. So every time I go to anything, like, honestly, like, I didn't even name my company because I think I'm the favorite. It's a conversation starter and it makes me laugh. It's really all it is. But everyone asks, like, are you the only child or are you really the favorite? And I'm always like, no, I'm not the only child. But like, come on now, who's your favorite kid and why is it the youngest? And they always stop like, oh, yeah, you're kind of right. So I also proved like it's always the youngest. Everyone has agreed. And every parent that I've ever asked, no one has given me like, I don't choose favorites. It's always like, yeah, no, it's the youngest.
I have 3. It's the youngest.
Yeah, always. Yeah. We're the best.
And Tony, Casey, Izzy, if you're watching, it's Izzy. It's the youngest. it's Izzy all day long. All day long. He's not a disappointment like you guys are.
Well, he's still got time. He still has time to disappoint. You guys have just had practice.
You know what's funny? That's funny to me because my kids don't give a shit what I do. They'll never watch this ever.
Don't let them.
I was. That's a conversation for another day. What I let my kids watch when they were growing up. Like, we had fun watching South Park. So back to podcasting. Yeah. Do you ever get up and like, is this really what I do for a living? Like, because I grew up in a culture. I grew up in a culture of we were talking about beforehand. I'm from the blue collar Ozarks and factory work and construction. I grew up in all of those. Was a truck driver for a hot minute, whatever. Because nothing outside of blue collar work existed for me. So I get up and I come into the studio and I plop down and I meet with people like you all day and I design shows and I talk to people all day. And then I go home and like, boy, am I tired. And I'm like, I'm an asshole because like I get every job is work. I get it. Yeah. But when you wake up and you're actually in the industry of podcasting, that's how you feel at the end of the day.
Yeah. So when I was working in finance, I was director of marketing. So I was running like a whole marketing department and I loved the creative pieces of it. And I had so much fun with them. But my brain is a creative person's brain. It doesn't work in like organization. So I couldn't get my brain to work in their systems and like Salesforce and like all of this stuff. It just wasn't working. So when I quit, I kept them on as a client. But that meant that I only had to do the creative stuff. And now it's like, I only do the fun things. It's amazing. There's someone there to handle the not fun stuff. And then I get to do the fun stuff. It's not work.
No, my wife is this amazingly creative artist and painter, and she makes half of her income selling paintings and stuff, you know?
Did she do the one behind you?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yep, that's her. And so on the weekend, she's like, baby, let's do something creative. You want to paint? And I'm like, no, I don't, because you're right. Because that's what I do all week long. I do creative things and fun things all week long. So my wife thinks I'm this boring asshole that just likes to play Animal Crossing and eat gummies all weekend. And I'm like, but I have to recharge because I never get to like that creative energy is what I do for a living now. And I'm like, man, when you get there, because she'll get there eventually, right? Yeah. And I'm like, when you get there, it is literally, you have to let go of it sometimes.
Well, I think it was like the Joker who's like, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. I'm glad that I'm finally at the point that I'm reading again, because I was reading for a living. Basically, when I worked in marketing, I was a copywriter. So it's like I was reading for a living. I wouldn't read for fun. So now I'm reading again, but don't ask me if I actually listen to podcasts at this point, because I spend my whole day like listening to podcasts, recording podcasts, editing podcasts. I can't remember the last time I listened to one for fun.
Yeah, because I listened to in this week alone, and it's only Tuesday at the time of this recording. It's about noon on a Tuesday, right? I've already listened to like 47 podcasts this week.
Yeah,
I'm spot checking them. I'm listening to them. I do coaching. I do all of this other stuff, and I understand that your podcast is not yours, but the plethora of yours, not yours, Sarah, but
mine is
out there.
awesome.
If you're doing yours is very awesome. I mean, it's amazing. I listen to every episode, and but you're like podcasts are getting so narrowed down and so niche specific that it's hard. It's kind of hard to find the ones that I want to listen to because murder podcasts are overdone. We went through that 2 or 3 years of everything was just murder podcasts. That's all it was. But now it's taking that swing back towards business, back towards self-help and life and stuff. And I like that and a lot, but yeah, I just can't listen to them anymore.
It's interesting that you say like the more niche they get, the harder it is for you to find one you're interested in, because that's like the opposite of like the point.
Yeah, like it's weird.
Yeah, you niche down to make it easier to find your target audience.
Yeah, but you can niche down.
Don't destroy my whole business plan.
No, because we have the same business plan, right? When I said this was a raw, unfiltered conversation, it's still a fucking good business plan. I just can't find ones I like to listen to because it's like so like history. Okay, I like history podcasts. So I pull up a history podcast and it'll either be dry, boring, cover the wrong shit, not this, not that, whatever.
Oh, I've got a recommendation for you.
Then I'll find the one. It might be the one I actually listen to. I'll find the one, and then they're inconsistent about putting episodes out, or they're whatever. Which recommendation do you have?
Queen's podcast. It is.
No, I'll have to listen to it.
You have to. It's amazing. Every episode they dive into a woman in history, like deep dive into their story and pair it with a cocktail. So they're like drinking and cursing and talking about women in history, and all of their negative reviews are like, "I wasn't expecting such foul language," and then they just posted like, fuck off."
Yeah.
So you would like that one.
Good. Yeah. I like cursing. So let's talk about that in podcasting. Isn't it weird that you're available? Like my Allura podcast as a former stand-up comedian was the first podcast I did was comedy to where I could say whatever I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I, you're on terrestrial. I was on radio for a while too. You're on radio and you got to be really careful what you say and really careful what you do. And now I can just like hit record, grab the mic and go, "Fuck you, you fucking fuck. This is what we're fucking talking about today, motherfucker." And find an audience with that.
Yeah.
But there's still people out there that don't really conform to that idea of humor. So how do you feel about like language and subject matter and hard subjects in podcast?
I mean, everything has to be talked about. And if it's not for you, just don't listen. I hate the podcast reviews that are just like, "I didn't like the language. I didn't like this." I'm like, okay, so then don't listen. No one is making you listen to these shows. Go find one that you do like. And if there's harsh language in it, like you have to put the little explicit E on it so you knew going in. And if you don't want explicit language, then don't find an explicit show.
And I try to
People just want to complain about things.
I really try to drop fuck at least within the first 2 minutes so they know
just
what they're
so they know.
Just so they know. So anything, if you hear me say fuck twice, that's on you. That's not my fault.
Set the tone.
Really? Yeah. That's what you have to do. So there, when we were at Podfest, I had an amazing time. This is the first podcast convention that I've ever been to.
That's
now,
amazing.
I've been to
That's
about 100 in my life. Yeah. But I've been to like 100 different conventions in my life, whether it be marketing or insurance or whatever. No, this one was really amazing and really fun. It's such a good community and there's so much support. Like when you go to an insurance conference, we're all competitors. So if I was in insurance and I went for marketing, but I was behind a booth and I'm like just side eyeing the fucking progressive guy, I'm going to cut you later. Right. And you have to be nice and you have to be whatever. And then you go to marketing and everybody, and for marketing, every marketing douchebag has a marketing plan. And so it's all theories. Nobody really fucking knows what's going on. And you're just there being arrogantly projecting your theory into the universe. And some people, if you say it louder, it's better. I don't know. Marketing people are weird. I was one forever.
Same.
But you're still competitors. You're still trying to learn. You're still doing the dick waving, who's better, who's whatever. There was nothing like that in this podcast community. It was literally one of the most chill, greatest collaborative industries that I have ever seen in my life.
It really is. And that's why I love it, especially coming out of finance, which is like dog eat dog. And it's like, you got to like eat what you kill. there's nothing in this industry that's like that. And the first podcast conference I went to, actually, I think it was the last PodFest. So last year's PodFest, and I had basically launched my company there. Like that was like, I stole PodFest to be like my coming out party, basically. And someone had reached out to me on LinkedIn saying like, I do the same thing as you, like, let's meet at PodFest. And I'm like, oh crap, he's going to tell me like, okay, you suck. And here's why, like, I'm so much better. And here's why, like, just don't even bother. But instead we sat there for like an hour coming up with ways that I do things that he doesn't, and he does things that I don't. How can we fill in those gaps for each other? How can we kind of like send clients back and forth so that they get everything that both of us offer? And I'm just sitting there like, you know, I'm your competitor, but like, I'm not, because I don't do exactly the same thing as him exactly the same way. And people don't really think about that there are things that other people do better than you. And you have to admit that. Because if you don't admit it, then you're not going to get better. So that's what I love about like all of these. It's even podcast movement, which is a lot more industry, which you would think once it gets out of the independent podcaster zone into the industry, that it would be more competitive, but it really isn't. Everyone is there to like teach and learn and work together. And I have people that are way more successful than me coming to my presentations to learn things from me. And I'm like, do you want the microphone? Are you here to replace me? What is happening? But they're actually saying they're taking notes, and it boggles my mind.
Well, and like by the time I left marketing last year, it was kind of the same way, right? I loved the new vision of people coming in, because what happens is when I started my journey and I did everything and you got through marketing, at a certain point, it's kind of like getting older. You just kind of get set in your ways. You don't see what's coming. The new technologies, the new theories, the new ways, the new whatever. You have to be adaptable to those. And there is so much technology that is making podcast easier these days. And just better. Like, look at StreamYard, like what we're recording this on. Not that I'm a huge giant fan of StreamYard, but the fact that we can do this, you get your individual recordings, that we can build and you can podcast from anywhere and it not look like a Zoom meeting. I think one of the downturns, and I'm looking at you, every motherfucker that just records your Zoom call and calls it a podcast, fucking stop. Okay.
Yes.
Just fucking stop doing that. It's not a podcast. It's a business call. Nobody wants to watch it.
I just found out someone runs a production, like a podcast production company, and uses GarageBand to do all of the production.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
No.
So I have a thing about quality. I love quality. And I used to, when I first got into podcasting, I'd spend tens of thousands of dollars for quality. And then I realized nobody gives a shit.
True.
Right. Nobody cares. Like my mic sounds good. My setup sounds good. Now, where I spend most of my money is on operating systems. I'm a Mac guy. I got like the M3 Pro, blah, 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 all the things that I run the core of my podcast on. Right. But my iPhone is my camera. I got a $100 mic. I've got whatever. And I'm on the same level as all these other people. Like it doesn't matter. Like the people that are spending tens of thousands of dollars on quality, we're all sitting at the same fucking table. You just have to know what that is. But the Zoom meeting business call thing is where that's my line.
Yeah,
that's my line.
And if I hear one more group of fucking frat boys say like, oh, every night, me and my boys, we sit around and drink and talk and we're so funny and we're going to start a podcast, I want to throat punch them.
Not to diminish. I'll be 46
I'll
years
diminish
old.
them.
But I'll be 46 years old tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I started comedy when I was 19. I didn't have fuck all to talk about when I was 19. And I even left comedy. And I've come back this time doing this type of show. And you see me do stand up in Florida. I'm going to LA for that Podfest. And I'm booked at a couple clubs out there. Or not Podfest. Sorry, Podfest people, if you're watching. Podcast convention. Podcast movement. I'm going to go out to LA for that one. Evolutions. I'm going out there for that one. Or that's the plan anyway. Plans change. But Kimbro, that run the open mic, I guess his brother owns. I'm going out there with him, and we're going to go to the club, and we're going to do some stuff out there. But I really feel like at 46, I got some shit to talk about. I have some life experience, right? I know what to talk about and how to talk and do those things now. But 19-year-old frat boys and just talking about like what they did with their foreskin the night before and how much they can drink, that's kind of just like cool, because your whole audience is just going to be other frat boys and foreskins. That's all you're going to get. And I want to
it's just going to be them. It's like no one is going to listen. It's going to be you, the person recording it with you, and then your mom as she hangs her head and shakes it because she's like so disappointed.
Like she's not drunk at 3:00 in the afternoon off wine, because that's how you get frat boys.
That's fair. but the dad's a lawyer.
Yeah.
The dad's always a lawyer.
The mom's a stay-at-home mom, and she's been drunk since they were 10. So that's kind of how frat boys are made.
Goals.
Yes.
Life goals. I'm a stay-at-home dog mom.
I've got 3 kids, and they're all grown now. Like my favorite one just turned 18. So really
he's like almost an adult.
I mean, they still live in my house, barely work, eat all my food, and pay me no rent, but they're still an adult.
Okay.
And my favorite. See how strong that is?
So how old is the oldest?
23.
Okay, so at least I'm not like younger than your oldest kid. That makes me feel better.
No.
Okay.
Here in the Ozarks, right, is that I didn't have any teenage pregnancy. Like I was 22 when I had my first
Congrats,
kid.
You beat it.
And that I know, and that was like 5 years older than most people in my age group. So
see, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm 28, but I still feel like a child, and I'm still like afraid of teen pregnancy, even though I'm 10 years out. Like I'm just like, oh my God, what would happen? I'm like, oh wait, I'm an adult. I'm supposed to be responsible.
Yeah. That
I like someone told me they were pregnant once, and I was like, basically offered them a ride to a clinic, and they're like, well, it's my 4th, so I'll probably keep it. Oh. Well then congrats.
4th kid or 4th trip to
kid.
The clinic?
No, 4th kid. Okay. They had them all. Meanwhile, I'm just like, oh no, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I might. Maybe that's a conversation for my therapist. I don't know.
Maybe mention this because we. Because I will never do one of those 23andMe tests ever, right? Because my favorite form of birth control when I was on the road was an alias. So I'm guessing that,
there's a lot of little Ryans running around somewhere.
Isn't that the point,
No. It's not.
I know it's not. I wish when I turned like 35, I started going to therapy, spent enough money on therapy to buy a house, really changed my ways. I'm a totally
love that character development.
Totally different structured human being nowadays than what I was before. But holy shit, that past Ryan. Yeah. Not a thing that we want to explore.
What was the alias?
What was it? It was so Lucas Reed. I use that a lot. My middle name is Lucas.
You're gonna start getting like child support letters in the mail. Like,
they're all over 18.
There's Lucas Reed.
Yeah, there's Lucas Reed. Anthony Lucas. Lucas is my middle name, so I use Lucas a lot. And what's really funny is my oldest kid is named Anthony. So, and I started using that alias before I ever had that kid. So
you named your child after the fuck up of your past.
No. So kind of it's a cross between my alias at the time and Anthony Soprano, because it was like 2000.
Okay, who's ever called him Anthony Soprano? Just full legal named him. Yeah, it's Tony. It's not Anthony.
No, they use Anthony quite a bit. I just
named him.
Yep. I just watched it. I just got done watching it.
I've never actually seen it.
Podfest. Oh no, Anthony Soprano. They
no, it's Tony. It's Tony.
Oh no, absolutely, it's Tony. I think his mom did, and his uncle did once, and a cop did. They were like arresting him, like Anthony Soprano.
If your last name's Soprano, you can just assume you're going to jail.
Right.
It's just.
Oh yeah, we were talking about podcasting.
Oh, were we? What's a podcast?
Right? Some weird structure we use to get away with doing whatever the fuck we want with our lives.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Hey, y'all pay me.
That's kind of the point. So let's talk about the negative side of podcasting, because you kind of gave me, and I know you're going to be careful, and I know you're all sunshine, rainbows, and don't like to whatever, but like dead serious, there's some negative sides of podcasting.
Oh, 100%.
And what is one of the biggest ones for you? What do you see as a negative side of podcasting?
I think so. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, is how accessible it is and how anyone can have one, which I think that's great because anyone can have one, but also like anyone can have one, you know? And there's some people that it's like some thoughts should stay inside your head, not on a microphone. You know? It's like we didn't need to hear that.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Here's my downside. Guests.
Oh God. Are you calling me out right now?
No, not you. No, you've been amazing. But I did have somebody tell me that they were beating his child and stuck needles in their dick on a show once, and the show was about business. So
was it
tell
this
me how
one or like a different one?
No, it was not this one. It was my other show.
Okay.
It was Small Business Chronicles, which you can find on the Small Business Delivered Network. Business Delivered.
You're going to interview one of my clients soon.
I am, and I am. But no guests. I think guests are the worst.
Oh, for sure.
Not all guests, but so podcasting, here's the negative, and I might blow up both of our businesses here. So podcasting in the business world is kind of used as a PR, could be used several different ways, as a PR tool, top of a sales funnel lead, to promote your book, to promote whatever, right? But the people that come on some of these podcasts do this so much. They go on so many podcasts because with Podmatch, Matchmaker, newsletters, LinkedIn, however you book podcast guests or however you get booked on podcasts, they'll come on there and it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a fuck bit of what questions you have for them. They have a spiel. They have a thing they're going to fucking say. And if you even try to get them to say anything outside of those 4 things they've practiced on saying, good fucking luck.
But the best ones are the ones that are there to promote their book. So they won't dare tell you a single thing because that means that, well, if I tell you that, then no one's going to buy the book. So if you want to learn about that, it's on page 17 of the book. No one's going to buy your book anyway because I have no idea what it's about. Tell me something.
So hopefully he doesn't ever fucking see this. I think it might be on back here.
Oh,
so
God,
I had a show. His name's Bill. I'm not gonna use his last name.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
I wish I'd get that motherfucker on the show. I love the guy.
Oh, please.
Anyway,
bring me on if you ever do.
Okay, we'll do. Deal.
Sweet.
Pinky swear. I'm working on it. So anyway, so this guy comes on. He was a musician. He was a music repair guy, and he was up by New York, and he had all these crazy stories about all these people that he helped or whatever. So I get him on my show. So at this time, I'm developing a show called Interesting People, because as I'm doing my Small Business Chronicles show, I'm just meeting people that don't quite fit the bill for that, but I would love to interview. So I needed a way to interview them. So I just made up a whole fucking new show, right? So I get this guy on there because I wanted to interview him, and that was it. Like I'd planned on having an hour and a half, 2-hour interview where people could really listen to this guy, break it up into 3 parts, get really into the down and dirty of his books. I don't fucking read, not because I don't know how, because I fucking hate it. And it's just not a thing for me. And so I trudged through and read this guy's fucking book over the course of a weekend. And it was a pretty hefty book, 300 pages or so. Every question I asked this motherfucker, we'll buy the book. We'll buy the book. It was a 22-minute interview before I rage quit it.
So I actually launched my company because when I was producing the show in finance, all I saw, like financial advisors can be great people, but they don't always make great podcast guests. So I saw like really bad podcast guests, but I saw really good ones and really good hosts and really bad hosts. So I like organically learned the like good and bad of podcasting. So I launched my company specifically to teach people how to be better guests. And like I am a podcast guest coach, and I help people do it better. And I honestly just almost do it as like a service to the industry because I'm so sick of the bad guests. And how many times do I have to call someone and say, I'm sorry, there were technical issues, which you told me at Podfest that there was technical issues with my episode of one of your shows. And I'm just like, oh God, was I that bad? Because that's what I always say. I'm like, oh, the audio quality, like I'm a coward. I don't want to tell them that they were bad. So I just say that I blame it on technical problems. And then you told me that there was technical problems with mine. And I'm like, oh shit.
No, there literally was. I remember you because we now have a QA person, but at the time, our QA person, because like in 3 months, we produced 174 episodes. So
goddamn.
Of just various podcasts, right? So that's a lot to keep up with. So I spot check them. And so, what we do, if anybody has been on any of our podcasts and you get this, then you'll know that you sucked, is that we have 2 podcasts with the same name. One is an audio show, one is a video show. We record everything for both. And we have decided you're going to the audio show. So if you go to our Spotify or Apple or our YouTube, where we house the video ones, right? Is that we may have like 37 for like small or for business breakthroughs. I think we have like 37 video podcasts and we have about 115 audio podcasts, because if they suck, we're not wasting production time on it. We just rip audio, throw some intro, outro bumpers on it, and kick it to audio only.
So mine was audio only. Is that why you did it?
No, we actually made yours not audio only. We used a picture of you and made it into a video as best we could, because you were really good content, because I listened to it. What happened with yours, StreamYard, if you're fucking listening.
You called them out at Podfest too.
I did call them out at Podfest for it. I absolutely 1,000% called them out. What happened was we're recording just like this, and what StreamYard does is it records backup recordings. So I would get this dual recording for all of you listening at home. You'll get this dual recording that you're seeing right here, but I'll get Sarah's, and then I'll get mine, and my shit's mirrored, so backwards that. I'll get those feeds, and then we take the 3 of those, and we make a podcast out of it that's very pleasant, and we edit it that way. So the whole point for the backup feed is if you have slow internet or technical problems, we can rebuild this dual feed out of the other feeds. No, they both were bad. Like your audio was fine, but there was a point that you hitched kind of like this and just stayed there for like 10 minutes.
It must have been really attractive.
It was hot. I don't want to tell you where that picture's at and what I've done with it, but it was, it was amazing.
At least send me some money for it.
All right.
If you're good at something, don't do it for free.
You're good at looking weird on podcasts. Good job.
We all have a talent.
We do. But yeah, no, audio only is you're a shitty guest.
That's so funny.
Putting production.
Well, so when I launched my company, it was to teach people how to be better guests. And so to this day, what I talk about on so many podcasts that I guest on is how to be a good guest. And that's some like high pressure shit right there. Cause like I'm on a podcast as a guest talking about how to do what I'm doing well. And if I'm not doing it well, I lose all my credibility.
Right.
But one of the episodes I guested on, I don't remember what I actually said, but they edited it so like, it almost felt like it had to be on purpose, because I was saying something like this, and it was like, so if I don't sound like, if I say something dumb, like don't listen to me or something, like if I'm trying to tell you how to be a good guest, if I'm not a good guest, don't listen to me. All they put was, so don't listen to me. I'm like, can we have a little bit of context? Like, listen to me. Unless now you think I'm really bad at this. And I hope maybe she just thought I was, so she just like told everyone not to listen to me. I don't know.
So in the best uncensored fashion, right? In the best uncensored fashion, give me your top 3 tips for being a good guest.
Oh, yay. Okay. Do not use it as a sales pitch. This is not about your business. This is not about what you do for a living. This is about value and tips and advice, and actually tell people something. They should not have to pay you in order to walk away with something from your episode. Don't answer with one word answers. Actually tell a story and have things to say, because being a host and when the guest is like, it's like pulling teeth to get something out of them, that is painful and no one wants to listen to that. And be interesting. Like, you get to choose that you want to be on a podcast. It's not for everybody. So if you're not prepared to like tell stories and be interesting and be engaging, and you've like practiced and you've spoken into a microphone before, maybe don't be a guest on a podcast. Like, you don't have to do it. You can blog or you can do something like practice, and rehearse a little bit. Not enough that it's like you said, like they have 4 canned responses and don't think you're going to get anything else out of them. But have like stories on deck and have experiences you want to talk about. Don't just go out and be like, okay, so what do you want to ask me? No, this is a conversation. It's not actually supposed to be an interview. It's not a job. I'm sorry. I got angry.
I think people... No, you're fine. So here's my theory. Okay. Here's my theory, because I'm gonna section out this. This is gonna be a social media clip of how to be a better guest with us. Okay. My first tip, number 1, in the immortal words of George Carlin, think about how dumb the average person is. Just the average guy on the street. Think about how 50% dumb that 50%
are dumber
is.
Than that.
Okay, so once figure out which percentage you're in before you decide to do a podcast, right? Before you ever sign up for a podcast, figure out which side of that percentage you're on. Okay?
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
Number 2, a podcast is not a goddamn Zoom meeting. Have a microphone, have earphones, have a setup. If you are a podcast host or a podcast guest, these are requirements. They are not things that you can just fuck off on. I like quality in my show. I spend a ton of money on this lighting, on this studio, on graphics, on all of this shit. And you show up with your fucking Nokia quality computer microphone and AirPods as a microphone. Go fuck off. Go play in traffic or some shit. And number 3 is actually, do you really need a number 3 after those 2? But number 3 is
well, they're already dead, so we don't.
Right. So number 3 is, I'm going to take your number 3 too. Have something interesting to say. Know your audience. Just because you're on a podcast doesn't mean that's the right audience for you. If you want to be a good audience, if you want to be a good podcast guest, then you find that audience and that thing that fits you, and then you stick to that. Don't try to do every show. The whole reason, little bit of how the sausage is made, Small Business Chronicles exists, is we had a marketing show, we had a coach show, we were trying to do business shows, and we needed a catch-all show for all these ignorant motherfuckers that didn't know what they were talking about, didn't know what to do. So we invented an entire show to put people that didn't know what they were doing on. Because we want to give everybody the opportunity to be in podcasting, to help, and we can coach these people. And if you're one of those ignorant motherfuckers, come see me, I'll help you out. That we are trying to get them into podcasting and good at it. And this is a learned thing, just like you said, it's a very learned thing, very whatever. But before you step out there, do a little research and figure out, find your interesting points, find your value, find what you're adding to this podcast instead of just taking away. Because to wrap this up, this little segment up anyway, is I'm a master at networking. I love networking, but I also hate networking. And podcast is one of the best networking opportunities that you will ever have in your life. It is way less about the shit you spout on when that record button hits, to that relationship and connection you make with that host, because then that host's network becomes your network if you build that. So if you come correct, you're intelligent, you're well-spoken, your quality is good, and you're interesting, you've got a new best friend, because that host will respect that, and you'll get a lot of good networking opportunities if you play your cards right. And that'll be way more valuable than your 4 canned answers you said on the podcast.
Oh, 100%. It sucks because I first started podcast guesting before I was ready. And I started on big shows. And like, I don't my clients, like people that I work with to like help them be better guests, I purposely start them on smaller shows because you have to work up to things and practice. No, I started on Stacking Benjamins, Bad with Money with Gabby Dunn, like big shows, and I should not have. I sucked. I was a terrible guest. Well, not so much Stacking Benjamins because I was there to tell my penis tattoo story, so it was hilarious. But like the other, just sweep it under the rug. Like I went on shows to talk about finance, and I'm like, why am I talking about finance? It was before I was an accredited financial counselor. I didn't know what I was talking about. I look back and I'm so embarrassed, and I'm like, I'm teaching people how to be a good guest. Like, don't look at these examples, guys. Like, no, not that one. Do as I say, not as I do. Like, it's so embarrassing.
Oh no, I get it because mine was hosting. Like I hope I can scrub these from the internet. So when we come back to podcast hosting and when we started this company, it started with me and Cash Miller, and we would just invent shows and we would just try to get guests on here. Like we would just try to get guests and we were trying to figure this all out. And now as a comedy host like this, I'm good. I love doing this. I am not a normal business guy. So to show up and be like, hi, Miss HR lady, what would you do in this HR situation? That's great. How do you tell an employee that you have to let them go instead of be, I didn't get to be myself. And I always get her last name wrong. Lindsay McMahon from All Ears English. I had her on my show. And I tanked that interview so fucking bad. Like they got 8 to 10 million downloads. I had her on talking about podcasting. You could just tell like halfway through, she's like, I can't wait to get off this damn show. Like, I can't wait to just never talk to you again and never see you again. And
that's how I'm feeling right now.
We're just going to pretend. Oh, is it really?
No, of course not.
I'm sad now.
No, I love you.
I'm sad now.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I got some razor blades in the bathroom. I'll take care of it later. So
I don't need that on my conscience.
Look, it says uncensored. I'm not fucking around.
For the police, if you find the body, I had nothing to do with this. I am not even in the same time zone.
Oh, no, I would never kill myself. You just got to pick, am I doing cocaine to cheer myself up or am I a cutter? That's really the only things you need to worry about.
Please pick the cocaine.
How about both?
That sounds dangerous.
Well,
as you were saying. Yes. Lindsay, what did Lindsay say?
So nothing. Yeah, this is why I don't have, this is why.
ADHD people shouldn't be on podcasts together.
Yes. No, but no, it's, no, and I just got better at it. The thing that I tell my guests or my hosts that I coach now is that one, be yourself, find something that you like to do and that you can do. And number two, practice, that's a thing that you need to do. And three, you got to get started somewhere because at the end of the day, if you watch all of my podcasts backwards, you'll watch me getting shittier at it.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because the whole thing is that you're supposed to move forward. You're supposed to do better. You're supposed to, you're supposed to, get better as you do these things.
I tell people to strive to be embarrassed. Because if you if you look back at a podcast you did a year ago and you're not embarrassed, like you haven't improved. So I can look back like the first shows that I ever did, like, oh God, who let me on this show? Like, this is a very good show. I'm making a mockery of it. But now I go on shows and I'm like, better. And then next year I'll be better. And then the year after that, I'll be better. So like every year you should be able to look back and be embarrassed at what you did the year before. And if not, then like try harder.
Yeah, 1,000%. 1,000%. You have to, and I think that's where people get fucked up in business, whether it be podcasting, business, whatever. You don't need a final product. You are not a final product. Your business is not a final product. Your book is not a final product. Nothing is a final product.
Never.
And if you wait to get started to have that final product, then you're never going to get started. What you have to have is a reasonable, comparable starting place. And it doesn't matter if it's in a relationship. It doesn't matter if it's in business, in a book, in whatever you're doing. If you find that reasonable starting place and then just move forward from there, you'll get there.
But also like
that other half of the 50% you won't, but at least you're fucking trying.
But also like be honest about it. Like I'm the first to say I sucked a year ago. I sucked even more a year before that. Like if you go out into the world with this idea of like, oh, I'm doing amazing, I'm perfect, no one's better than me, like people are going to hate you. And that's why like with like the like online haters and people that are commenting on things, it's like I don't have any of that because I'm the first one to point out my own mistakes. So they have nothing that they can possibly say. And so if I'm super honest, like, oh, I screwed this up, like, oh, look, here's my blooper because I messed this up. Like, what are you going to say? I just made fun of myself. And like people are drawn to that kind of authenticity. Like just be you and acknowledge the fact that like you're a work in progress and you're still getting better. You're still learning and that's okay. You can still learn in the public eye.
Yeah. I don't know if I was just born without the ability to be embarrassed, but I've never really given a shit. But I know there's other people out there that do. And to be honest, no, I get embarrassed all the time. I get scared all the time. I get anxiety issues. Whatever.
Same.
But those are excuses because you just have to learn how to do shit feeling like that. It's never going to go away. Mm-hmm. It's never going to go away. If you have anxiety issues, fear issues, embarrassment issues, they're not going away.
No
pill you take, no drug you take, no therapy you do will take them away. That is you. That is who the fuck you are. And the sooner you understand that, live with that, and learn how to do that shit scared, anxious, embarrassed, is the day that you'll change your life into something magical and lovely. Who thought you'd come here for that advice for this fucking stuff? So yeah.
I would like a refund from all of my therapy sessions and all of my antidepressants because apparently it ain't going away. But no, it's so true. People people like they get confused when I say like I'm an introvert, I have social anxiety, like all of this. They're like, but you speak on stages and you podcast and stuff. I'm like, I know. I black out for half of it. Like I don't remember what I said at Podfest other than I know I ended my presentation by saying, I don't know how to end presentations. That was my closing. That literally.
That's a good ending.
It got the point across. But like I don't know what else I said.
So you saw my little stand-up thing, right? I did not write a thing. I walked up on stage, was my authentic self, and walked off. Yeah. And that's how I get through it. Because if I start worrying about what I'm saying or how I'm going to say it, now I just need to be confident. I just need to have that confident in here. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because that's all you need. You don't need the structure. You don't need the PowerPoints. You don't need the whatever. You just need that confidence. You know your shit. And then study and learn and practice till you have that confidence. And the minute you have that confidence, that fear, that anxiety, that other bullshit doesn't matter a bit. And you can get on this and make your own shows and say fuck a lot and invite people on and have them say fuck a lot and get paid for it. Like that's the reason why we're here. I
don't think I've said fuck a lot. Am I disappointing?
No. A little bit because you told me what your favorite curse word was and I haven't heard it yet. Because I can't say it until you say it. That's the one that I can't say until you give me permission to say it.
Okay, well I have to say it organically, so like we haven't gotten there.
Oh, fair enough.
I can't just say it. Like it'll lose all of its power if you just say it. Like you have to say it in proper context.
Right. Oh, what do you think of me?
Well, last time I said something mean, you said you were going to go in the back with razor blades.
Well, you might as well get the mileage out of the trip now. Make it a fucking twofer.
You goddamn cunt.
Aha, there we go.
I'm sorry, Mom and Dad.
And this is how you end a show. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Sarah, say your last name because I've already forgotten how to fucking say it. Lohse. Sara Lohse. And if you dare, what business and how can we find you out in the real world?
In the real world, I am the favorite daughter. You can find me at favoritedaughtermedia.com. All the socials is favorite daughter media. And I promise I speak nicer in the real world.
And my name is Ryan Sherrer. This has been Business Uncensored, where careers go to die. And thank you. Thank you, Sara, for coming on, and go check her out. Isaac, if you're editing this, Don't let me get fired because you lose your job too. All right, everybody, check us out on TitanMediaWorks.com. If you want your own podcast, we take all the work out of podcasts. We send you a link. We send your guest a link. You show up. You do your show. We take care of everything else. So
I do that too. Work with me instead.
Yeah, work with her instead. Whichever way it is. Work with her instead. She's way prettier, but she did drop the C word. She did say that, so.
You said you would say it too.
Oh, whatever. Now, if I say it, it looks like I'm calling you one, and I can't call you that.
Okay,
I can't do that.
Okay, Donald Trump is
There's no way I'm calling you a cunt on my show. Okay? See, just took me a second.
I gave you a good setup, though.
You did, and I took it.
No, Donald Trump is a...
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh,
yeah.
He's a giant pair of fucking clown shoes, and he's also a cunt.
Thank you. Now that's how you end the show.
Bye, everybody. That's how we end the show.